Hey there, welcome to LSEA Yoga. My name is Laura, and today is day 5 of our 5-day yoga and meditation challenge. Today's practice is about making space, and we'll connect with the element of space by creating that within. So if you're ready, get on your mat, and I'll meet you there. We'll begin in seated. And today's practice is a Yin Yoga practice, and that means we're going to be in some longer held static poses after we do a little bit of a warm-up, a seated warm-up. So it's a soothing warm-up. But you may need some props. So maybe grab a blanket, a bolster, or a block, as we are going to be in those poses for longer than you may be used to. You may need to support certain things to help you stay in the pose comfortably. So go ahead and find a comfortable seat, just an easy cross-legged position. And we'll do a little bit of a flow, just here and seated, just to warm up the torso primarily. So the first thing we'll do is side bend toward the left. So place your left hand down and reach your right arm up overhead. Side bend toward the left. Using your left hand as a brake, turn the heart up toward the sky. Drop your right hip down. And just breathe and get long in the side waist. And then come on back to center and just take that to the other side. Bending to the right, dropping the left hip down and turning up toward the sky. Doesn't have to be your deepest side bend, just enough for a little stretch. Big breaths to fill the left side waist. And come on back up. This time we'll twist over toward the right. So place your left hand on your right knee and turn toward the right. Right hand is behind, kind of like a post to keep you up tall. Now if this tweaks your shoulder, go ahead and place your hand over to the left or out in front. And that'll help. Twist from the belly button, not the shoulders. And then release that and switch sides. Each breath get taller as you inhale and then twist as you exhale. Come on back to center. Interlace the fingers behind the back and draw the palms together. Palms can touch or not. Doesn't matter. We're just stretching into the shoulders, opening the chest. Make space to make space. And then release that and just bow forward over your legs. Kind of like child's pose. And then come on back up to sit. And we'll get started with our yin postures. So we'll begin with butterfly. So bring the bottoms of the feet together, knees out to the side. And let the heels be a good distance away from the hips, so a long-legged butterfly. Scoot the hips out behind you, and we're just going to simply tilt forward. So you can bring the fingertips behind and just start to lean forward and open the hips. In Yin Yoga, we look for our edge. So find that place where it's challenging, but not painful. Start to deepen the breath. Now here's where you may need a prop. If it becomes uncomfortable, let's place something under the knees. And that'll help keep it from being too intense. And with deep, slow breaths, if your edge recedes, you can adjust your hands, coming deeper into the pose with every breath, only moving because your edge has receded and you need to find a new one, or it's become painful and you need to back up out of it. We're not looking for any kind of pain. This is Yin Yoga for calm, so cultivate that. Let the deep breaths soothe the nervous system, turning on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest system. It's the opposite of fight or flight. We'll start to walk the hands back up. And let's counterpose that. The little windshield wipe. Lean back on the hands. Windshield wipe the knees, side to side. And then cross the legs and roll on over the legs and come on down onto your belly. And we'll take Sphinx pose next. So the shoulders are somewhere under, or the elbows are somewhere under the shoulders. And we're going to just gently sort of pull the chest through the shoulders, but not real energetically. It's a gentle back bend. The neck is long. Now, if this is too intense, feel free to stack the fists, rest the forehead, or maybe even stacking the palms. Sometimes just lying on your stomach can be enough of a back bend if you've never back bent. So in Sphinx pose, you can sink into the shoulders if it feels good, or you can lift up out of them. In Yin Yoga, there's a saying, if you're feeling it, you're doing it. So what it looks like doesn't matter, and that's true for all yoga. So close the eyes here and breathe. Now, if holding yourself up isn't super comfortable, feel free to place a blanket or a bolster underneath. Your chest, right? So you can bring it like this, leaning down into it. If that doesn't feel like much and you want more of a back bend, you may want to place your elbows up on the bolster. You can roll it. This can be a rolled up blanket as well, so that you're just resting your forehead. Just play around with it and find your back bend. If you want this to be much more restful, you might want to go with a supported version. Now, if that doesn't feel like much, and it all depends on your spine, you may want to lift up higher. So if you're in Sphinx, you have options to bend your knees, let the feet go up toward the sky, or you can take the hands out toward the corners of the mat and press into them more for a seal pose. That increases the bend into the back. But all of our spines are different. So if this feels crunchy or painful at all, back right up out of it. Now wherever you are, lower down, stack the palms and rest the forehead. Wiggle the hips to release the back. Press into the hands, come on up to the knees, and then we're going to sit back on the heels and take child's pose. You can bring your forehead down to the ground. Arms can be out in front of you or behind. We're going to be here for a few minutes. Now you can also take this supported, so you may want a blanket or a bolster, placing that in between your knees, and maybe your chest rests there, or your forehead. Your choice. Find your child's pose. As far as yoga poses go, sometimes people think that child's pose doesn't have much to offer, but I disagree. First of all, you're compressing some tissues, and there are benefits to doing that, just like there are for stretching them. Creates a good stress. Forehead, your third eye area, is also pressing down on the floor, and that's a acupressure point. It's very calming. So breathe into your upper back. Come back to your deep, slow breath if you lost it. Now you can stay right there if you like. Otherwise, we're going to add a side bend. So we're going to reach over toward the left. Just walk the arms over there and then lean into the right side waist. And rest the forehead back down on the ground. And then release that, walk on over to the other side, leaning into the left side waist. And then come on back to center. We'll slowly start to lift up to all fours. And we're just going to let the hips drop to counterpose that. Coming out of yin poses can be a little stiff sometimes, so maybe make it a little bit mobile, hips back and then forward, maybe rolling from side to side. And then come on back to hands and knees. And we're going to step the right foot forward into a lunge on the outside of the right hand. And you may recognize this as lizard pose, but in yin it's called dragon. So we're just going to let the hips drop. We're not going to stay here too long. A dragon can be kind of intense. You let the hips drop. So use that front foot as a brake if you need to push the hips a little bit further back to decrease the intensity. Now here you can stay with your arms straight, or you can lower elbows onto a bolster or a block, or all the way to the floor, depending on how open your hips are. Now if none of that's working, and it all feels too intense, you may want to come up to a lunge and rest the elbows on the front thigh. Just lean into the hips. You'll get the same action. It's just a matter of where you are today. Find your dragon. Take a few deep breaths here. Wherever you are, walk the hands back up, and we're going to step the right knee to meet the left and come on back to child's pose, just for a couple breaths. And then coming forward, we'll take the other side. So left foot to the outside of the left foot, or left foot to the outside of the left hand. And let the hips start to drop. Arms straight or elbows down on a bolster or the ground. Each side can be different depending on each hip and how open it is. And your edge may recede, so at first it may be intense and you'll need to stay up on your straight arms. Then it may recede and you feel like you can go down on your elbows. Your back foot can do whatever it wants. It can be toes curled under, top of the foot on the floor. Your knee can be close to your shoulder or a little winged out to the side. It really depends on the shape of your hip bones. So it may take some exploration to find your dragon. A few more deep breaths here. So much gets stuck in our hips emotionally. It's important to do poses like this to release that. And that's what will give us a deep sense of calm as we move toward the end of practice. Now, wherever you are, curl the back toes under, walk your hands up, step your knees together, and this time we're going to lift the hips up into a downward dog. It's just a nice counterpose to dragon, so enjoy that. Maybe stretch the shoulders, maybe pedaling the feet. And then lower the knees down, walk them through, and roll down onto your back. And here we'll take a reclined butterfly. So bottoms of the feet together, knees out to the side, Hands can go wherever you want them to. On your belly, out to the side like Shavasana. Again, if this isn't comfortable, feel free to put something under your knees. We're just looking to open the hips. And close the eyes here. And just soak that in. While we're here, maybe we'll do a little bit of two-part breathing. So that means breathing into your belly, let the belly move up, and then breathe into your heart. So fill the belly, then fill the chest, and then let the belly drop as you exhale, and then the chest. Inhaling belly and heart, exhaling belly and heart. Keep doing that a couple more times, inhaling into the belly and the heart, exhaling belly and heart. That a couple more times at your own pace. Now release the breath and start to heel toe the feet out toward the edges of the mat. And then drop your knees toward the right and then the left. Just windshield wipe your knees. We're outwardly rotating the legs, so this inward rotation counteracts that. Now, the next time your knees fall toward the right, leave them there. And we're just going to take this gentle twist. So again, if this isn't comfortable on either one of your legs, you may want to put something underneath the knee. If this doesn't feel like much, you may want to take the weight of your right foot and place it onto your left knee to draw the knee further toward the ground. Arms can come out into a T shape. Maybe look left. Let the hip and the side waist get long. If none of that is comfortable, you may want to bring both knees together, stack the knees, and drop them over toward the right, placing something underneath if it's too much. You don't want any tweaking in the back. Nice, deep release. Mining for space in the body. To me, that means expansive joints. enough cannot be said about the joy of freedom in the joints. And as you get older, that becomes more and more important. And that is the gift of Yin Yoga. It's all about creating space in the joints, in the connective tissue. Where in your usual yoga class, that tends to be a bit of the opposite of yin, which is yang or yang, which is very muscular, active. There's nothing wrong with that. That works our muscles and works tension through the body and allows us to relax. But in Yin Yoga, we just allow in stillness, and that creates strength and length in the connective tissue, less so in the muscles. So let's release that, and then we will just windshield wipe the knees again. So let them go back and forth. Just counterposing that twist. Now the next time the knees go to the left, leave them there. And we'll take the same thing on this side. So again, if you stack the knees on the other side, you can do that here as well. If you may need something under the knees to support them. If this doesn't feel like much, place your left foot on top of your right knee and draw it down toward the floor. This time we're looking right. Practice of Yin Yoga is not just the connective tissue, but it is also stillness. In our busy lives, that's one of the most difficult skills to master. We're always distracted. We're always being pulled by technology in different directions. Just the practice of being still is so very valuable. So let's release that. Come on back up, bring the knees back up. Windshield wipe the knees a few times. Now you may want, the next thing we're going to do is Shavasana. So you may want to move around as it feels good for you. You may want to draw the knees into the chest and tug on the knees, lengthening the lower back. You may feel that a bridge pose will feel good. Maybe lifting up the hips. Maybe grabbing hold of the knees and rolling the hips in one direction and then the other. Just massaging the lower back. You may want to straighten the legs, have a nice stretch. Whatever feels good. And then when you're ready, let the legs go long. Feet flop open to the sides, palms to the sky. Get comfortable. And let everything release into the earth for Shavasana. Now begin to wiggle the fingers and the toes. Maybe roll the ankles and the wrists. Bend into the knees one at a time. Place the bottoms of the feet on the floor. Let the arms reach overhead. Interlace the fingers and press the palms away. Stretch. Draw the knees in toward the chest. Give them a squeeze. And then roll on up to sit. Find a comfortable seat. Bring the backs of the hands to the knees and close the eyes. Thank you for taking the time to make space. But really, that's what you do every time you step on a yoga mat. Every time you sit in meditation, you're giving yourself space to make space, both in the body and the mind. Namaste.